Hi, my name is Dora Brett, and I'm a member of the Quattro Edo Lodge in Franklin. Today I'm going to be making Italian cookies. And my ingredients are going to be flour, baking powder, baking soda, sugar, eggs, butter, vanilla, ricotta, and for the frosting I'm going to be using powdered sugar, lemon juice, and milk. Let's get started. Okay, the first part of this recipe is to mix the flour in the baking soda in the baking powder. So we're adding 4 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of baking powder. Okay, so I like to incorporate all of this so that it's all in the flour. Okay, this recipe makes 6 dozen, which is 72 cookies, and it depends on how big you make the cookies. Okay, now the second part of the recipe is to get the butter at room temperature, and that needs to be beaten. So let's just go that way. Okay. The second ingredient to that is 2 cups of sugar. That just helps to blend everything together. This looks good. Okay, so let that all get incorporated. Okay. Then we add 2 eggs. Oh, and by the way, that butter is unsalted. Okay, that's starting to look good. Well, the final thing is to get it incorporated with the flour mixture. Okay, so then we'll have add the ricotta in it. Let's see, spatula. This is 1 pound of whole milk ricotta. This makes for a nice moist cookie. Well, there's different variations of this cookie that, some recipes call for a lot more fats. I don't think this is as fattening. Of course, you can cut down on the fats by using the pot skim ricotta. Right. Might as well have the whole. Okay, so now that's going to get nice and creamy. And I'll add the vanilla. Okay. We're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla to this. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to add the final step, which is the flour mixture. So we're going to gradually add it in so it gets nice and mixed in. So you want to get this to a consistency so that you can, you know, make the cookies themselves, which is, I use a teaspoon. The recipe calls for a tablespoon, but I use a teaspoon because then I won't make them too big. Now you can start to see it starting to stiffen. See it starting to get stiffer and stiffer. Okay, let's do this. Whoa, fast. Well, I think they have a nice texture to them. They stay moist because of the ricotta. And just a nice all-around cookie with the frosting on top. And of course you can make them seasonal with the different sprinkles. You can make them for Christmas or St. Patrick's Day. Okay, so this should be the end of our flour. Try not to go so fast this time so it won't split. So let's scrape some of this off the sides. And this should do it. Well, it's just about there. It doesn't have to be too stiff because, like I said, this it's a very moist cookie. Okay, so the next thing to do is to make your cookies. And this recipe calls for either spraying your pan or using parchment paper, whichever you prefer. And it calls for you making them the size of a tablespoon, but I like to use a teaspoon because then they won't be too big. And you bake them 350, well, the recipe calls for like 15 minutes, but I think that depends on how hot your oven gets. Mine usually, at home, usually does it in 11 or 12, but we'll see what happens here. So you don't want them to be too small or too big. And the consistency of this is, it's kind of thick. And it does make a lot, so, and this is a great time to make them ahead for the holidays, which are just around the corner. What makes these Italian is they're made with ricotta. And you need to keep them about an inch apart. All right, so once you have them on the sheet, they're going to cook for 10 to 15 minutes at a 350-degree oven. And like I said, it will depend on your particular oven how long it takes. Usually I can tell because I can start to smell. Okay, it's been 10 to 15 minutes at 350 degrees, and the cookies are ready to be taken out. Okay, the cookies are all done now. You can tell if they're done because they're a nice golden brown on the bottom. They need to cool for 10 minutes anyways before you frost them. Just make sure they're nice and cool. Okay, we have let the cookies cook and cool. The recipe calls for 10 minutes before you frost them. But in the meantime, I'm going to prepare the frosting with 1.5 cups of confectioner's sugar. I added a teaspoon of lemon juice and 3/4 teaspoons of milk. I tend to use the milk the whole milk, because it's rather than water. A lot of people will use water, and the frosting isn't as creamy when you use water instead of milk. So you get that nice, get all the lumps out. I added a teaspoon of lemon juice and 3/4 teaspoons of milk. Okay, so that looks good. It's nice and no lumps. And then you just frost them. And this frosting is it's a little on the thick side. It's almost like a cake frosting. Again, make sure that the cookies are nice and cool. And I usually do, 4 or 5 of them, and then I stop, and I'll put my sprinkles on them. Because if you wait too long, the frosting gets hard, and the sprinkles won't stick. Sometimes most of the time, I have to make another batch of the frosting because it doesn't go the whole way with all these cookies. This recipe makes 6 dozen, which is about 72 cookies, and depending on how big you make cookies, smaller cookie you'll have more, larger cookies you'll have less. It's up to you. Okay, this is a batch that I made ahead of time, and they're all nice and hard. The frosting is hard, but the cookie itself is still moist, and that's what I like about this recipe. As you can see, I use different sprinkles. You can use whatever is seasonal, and then just the regular multicolor, or if you're doing Christmas ones, you can make them red or green or whatever you like. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Dora Brett. I hope you liked the presentation, and I'll see you again real soon.
This program was made possible by your Franklin friends and neighbors, good folks just like you. Thanks for supporting Franklin TV. And thanks for watching.